Okay, today I'll show you how I achieved the front lever. I'll give you some exercises. I'm going to take you through my training that I'm doing today and just a bunch of stuff like that. So first of all, when I started the front lever training, disclaimer, I was able to do around 15 pull-ups already. So I had a base, It wasn't like I was starting from 0 pull-ups and then immediately going into the front lever. So I had like a bit of a base already. So that's just something I want to note there. If you don't have 15 pull-ups, I would say focus on normal pull-ups first. So anyway, after I got those pull-ups, I started getting interested in the front lever, and I basically did 2 exercises mainly until I got the front lever. Maybe 3, I'll show the third one as well, but mainly 2. So the first one is pull-ups, front lever pull-ups in the tuck variation, and the other one is holds. So basically, I was doing a lot of these ones, like L front lever. And basically, I used these throughout the entire time. So first I was doing like tuck front lever pull-up attempts. Then I was doing, the advanced tuck front lever pull-ups. And basically every time I did those pull-ups, what you want to train for is power. So you want to pull as high as possible. And the amount of reps in one set is going to be quite low. So I was usually doing between 3 and 8 reps. And for example, if I did like one set of 8 reps and then on the second set I did like 4 reps in one training, I would just always try to beat that the next training. So that's kind of how I did it. And then I did it for about 5 sets. I did like always about 5 sets of pull-ups. And then after that, I would go, that was my main exercise. I would go to like a few sets of like doing holds or doing a hold attempt. And I'll show you that after the pull-up. So first, today, what I'm going to do as well is just some pull-ups. For me, I have achieved the front lever already. So it's going to be higher than 8 reps. But for you, if you're just trying to achieve the front lever, I would say stay below or at those 8 reps. It's going to give you the best results. All right, so that's for me. One set of 10 pull-ups down. Like I said, it's a bit more than 8, but I already have the front lever. When you're doing these pull-ups, make sure that every training you either try to do the same difficulty for more reps, or you try to increase the difficulty a bit. For example, like lately I've been doing 5 sets of 10 pull-ups a lot. So I've been doing it for a couple of trainings, but every time I just try to make sure that the difficulty of my pull-ups increase. So one day I will do like a set of wide grip pull-ups. One day I will add some weight. Today I will add some weight as well. And that way I'm just increasing the difficulty bit by bit. So never do the same training twice, or you can do the same training twice. That's normal. But if you like keep doing the same training over and over and over and over again, well, you're going to get the same results over and over and over and over again. You're going to adapt to it. You're going to stop progressing. So make sure that you progress. When it comes to rest time, well, there's already a bit of time gone. But just like yesterday in my planche tutorial, I just set a timer every 4 minutes and then I do a set. So I have about, I don't know, 3 minutes and a half of rest. And that's just because after this I have to go to work. But if you have more time, feel free to take more rest, because you're training for strength. The more rest you have, the better. All right, I added some weight to make it more difficult. Like I said, just make sure to challenge yourself. This was quite challenging. Now, I'm showing a bit of my real training here, so if you want, you can just skip to the next exercise. I'll add some chapters. But what I'm going to try now is add even more weight. and just see how many reps I can do. And this way I will just keep challenging myself until 5 sets are done. All right, pro tip. It's gonna go better if you have some Pokemon music blasting in the background. Come on. 4 kilos. That way, baby! All right, as you can see, the form is not perfect, but that's what's happened. That is what happens when you challenge yourself. If your form breaks down every now and then, don't worry about it. You can fix it later on when the front lever becomes easier for you. All right, second part of the training, this is where I do front lever holds, front lever presses, and ice cream makers. Now, the third one you might not have heard of before, so I'll show you in a moment. But first I'm gonna do a quick warm-up set with some holds and presses. And maybe I should turn off the Pokemon music if I'm gonna explain stuff. All right, I'll turn off the music and explain a bunch of stuff. So, during the second part of my training, that's like the secondary exercise, I always did either holds or attempt of holds, or I did ice cream makers or some presses. Now, that's a lot of exercises. There are a bunch of exercises. The point is, you're going to do exercises where you go to the straight arm position. That's going to train your front lever position, you know? And for those of you who don't know what an ice cream maker is, basically, when I was struggling to get into the full front lever, you know, I had one-legged holds, but I couldn't get to the full front lever. What I did in that time was I went from an L hang position like this in the pull-up, and I basically used momentum to go into the front lever, and I repeat that. So like this, from L hang, and I would just do reps of trying to get into the front lever. And what's important is you always try to fully extend your arms, and then you try to hold the position. You're gonna fail, that's okay, but you have to try and hold it. And then when you feel, oh, I'm failing, that's when you go back to the pull-up. So that one is actually the one that got me the front lever hold, you know, because it's like an attempt on steroids, because you can attempt like 3, 4, 5 times in one set. So that one got me the hold. So basically what I do after the pull-ups is I take a bit of a longer rest, you know, between the pull-ups. It's like now 3 to 4 minutes, but back in the day for me it was like every 2 minutes or something I was doing a set. I really didn't rest very long. But anyway, I took a bit of a longer rest, and then I started doing some holds. For the holds, it's kind of the same as the pull-ups. You're trying to go for strength, you know. So doing a hold for 20 seconds doesn't have a lot of meaning in my opinion. I would say the same as the front lever pull-up, go between 2 and 8, well, it's not reps, 2 and 8 seconds, I would say. If you can hold the position correctly for 8 seconds, then you probably are able to do the next progression as well. So yeah, that's something I would just keep in mind. But also keep in mind, for the front lever pull-ups as well, by the way, if you constantly do 2 reps, you're not getting a lot of volume. So make sure that you can do 2 reps once in a while. Make sure that they're clean in that case. But also make sure that you get a bit of longer sets, like 5 to 8 as well, because that's going to give you a lot of volume. If you do 5 sets of 5, that's 25 pull-ups in total. That's quite good. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to do just a bunch of sets of these presses and holds I'm going to do today. And I would usually say do this only for about 3 sets, although for me, my training frequency at the moment for front lever itself is quite low, so I'm going to do a bit of more sets. Second warm-up set. Don't skip your warm-up, guys. Also not in between different exercises. It's okay to warm up specifically for different exercises, also in between your training. Especially if you feel like, oh, I'm getting pain in my neck and stuff, that's because you're not warmed up. Alright, so I'm doing some pressing sets now. For me, these are a bit longer than I would typically recommend them if you're trying to get your first front lever. Like I said, 8 seconds is enough if you're trying to hold it. Or maybe if you're doing some presses, 3, 4, 5 presses. But you don't have to go as long as I am doing them now, because you need power, you need strength, you don't need endurance yet. And if your form breaks down a bit, that's okay. Just try to, get new progressions. If you're at tuck, try to get your advanced tuck, or try to get your one-legged front lever, and so on. And if you keep challenging yourself, eventually you'll come to the full front lever. Whew. These fucking presses are heavy though. Okay, the main part of the training is done. The front lever training is done. I guess here it's time to give a quick disclosure. If you're gonna train the front lever for a while, be aware that your back is gonna get fucking huge. So if that's a problem for you, that you're gonna be able to feed a family of 4 for 2 weeks with just your back muscles, then I wouldn't recommend the front lever, but otherwise you're good to go. So now let's talk about accessories. Now yesterday in the planche video I mentioned that accessories are quite important to prevent injury, but for front lever, I really don't do a lot of accessories. Sometimes I might do some abs like I did in the previous trainings, or I might do a bit of chin-ups because I like the way they feel after front lever. But in general, I wouldn't say that you need accessories for the front lever, especially if you're managing your rep ranges between 5 and 8. When you're done training, you're gonna feel a pump. And the front lever is different from the planche in that there's not really like a dangerous amount of load on your tendons or your joints. So it's purely the muscle. So if you enter training with a good pump, I don't think you necessarily need accessories. Now, what I sometimes like to do if I don't do accessories is just on the final sets, I make them very long. So for example, I did some sets of presses and holds now with just body weight and even assistance. These sets take 40 seconds, around 40 seconds, I believe. They're completely to the max and my back is just pumped as shit when I'm done with them. So that's also front lever training. It's like a way longer set than the main sets, but because it's a bit more endurance based, it's good for a pump. So if you want to like get a really good pump at the end of your training, you can do it with a bit of longer sets of front lever as well, or your accessories. Those are all options. But keep in mind that if you do accessories, it's going to take away energy from your front lever training. If you do these very long front lever sets, it's endurance based, it's going to help your front lever still, but it's also going to take energy away. You're going to have to recover longer. So the reason I'm able to do this, I'm able to do 2 sets very long for front lever is because at the moment my training frequency is very low. I have 1 serious front lever training like this every 5 or 6 days. That's a very long time to recover. So I'm able to do this. I'm able to do a couple of sets more. But if you're just starting out, I would recommend go for 2 to 3 times a week. So yesterday I mentioned this, 1 day training, 2 days rest. 1 day training, 2 days rest. That's going to be your cycle. And if you keep that up, I think you have enough in one training with just those 5 sets of pull-ups and then about 3 attempts on the front lever or some hold sets, attempt sets, whatever, some sets of that. And then you should be able to see that you're, gradually getting stronger. And if you do more, just be aware that you might have to rest longer. Now, it's perfectly fine to combine your training with planche training. What I did, like the first 6 months, basically, I was just going 3 times a week to the park. I was doing my 5 sets of planche push-ups. Then I did my 5 sets of front lever pull-ups. Then I did my 3 sets of planche holds and attempts. And then I did a few sets of front lever holds and attempts. That's basically, that was my workout 3 times a week. And I was skipping legs, of course, as every calisthenics athlete did or was doing in the beginning. So that's basically it. Front lever is my favorite movement, so I hope this video was useful to you. Tomorrow I'm gonna do some legs, so now it's just time to recover. The next front lever training will be in a couple of days where I will do pull movements again, but it won't be as hard as this one, because if you have a hard training in the front lever, your back muscles are quite big, they need a lot of recovery. So train hard, but recover even harder so that you can overcompensate for your previous training and get stronger. All right, see you tomorrow.